Hello everyone. So in this video we are going to take a look at minus responsive adjustment for the gallery. We are also going to see that how we can hide a control based on the device width. Then we are going to create one form that lets user ask the question, submit the response, and we are also going to see the submit form and the patch function and what is the difference in between them. So I'll switch over to my desktop. So in earlier video we see that in the gallery we are going to use the dynamic property to make the wrap count based on the device width, but there was an issue in that formula. So the alternative, I found that in the wrap count property you have to put the formula like this. So this is, I have just played around it and found this one. So that round app dot width divided by 400. So what round does, I was getting the values of this one in decimal points. So as you can see 3.415, but I don't want decimal point. So what I'm going to do is round the number. So currently as you can see these, there are three cards displayed. If I play this and if I switch over to window, so as you can see there are 5 cards are displaying in a row, and the submit answer button, you can see it is dynamically managing width also dynamically, and the height and weight of the container also. Let's say if I switch it to a small device, as you can see there are 3 columns are displaying. Let's say if I change it to portrait view, I will just reduce the height or width. As you can see in the mobile we can only see the one column at a time, right? So this formula you need to write, you just have to play around with it. Then the next thing I have to do, I will switch to canvas again. So what I need to do, on the tablet and below devices, I need to hide these controls, filter controls like all, answered and response pending. These control I need to hide. So for that, what I will do, I will just select these 3 controls. As you can see, I will group them together. I will change the name of the group as GRP filter options. I will go to the visible property of the group and I'll just simply write app.width should be greater than, let's say, 1280. So if my device width is greater than 1280, then only these controls will appear, otherwise it will not appear. So let's have a look at it. So currently I have played this app, so these controls are appearing. So what I will do, I will just select the small device. So let's say 1366, it is appearing because it is not less than 1280. So what I'll do, I'll just select this iPad mini with having the width of 1024. So if I select this, as you can see, these options are not appearing here. So this is the way you can manage the controls. So let's say if you don't want some buttons or form elements to show on mobile devices, you can use this property. Also, as you can see, there is this department title which is overlapping the submit answer button. So what I will do, I will also hide the department name in the tablet view. So the similar way, what we need to do, I will just copy this formula from this group. I will go to department, I will go to its visible property and simply put that formula. And if I play it, so as you can see, the department name is no longer appearing in the tablet. And what if I use more width? So it is appearing, right? So in this way, you have to manage every element in your Canvas applications. Then the responsive thing we have already completed. Then we will move to the creating forms. And now what we are going to do, when we click on the ask a question button, when we click on the ask the question button, a pop-up will appear that will have the question name that we need to put, and we have option to select department and one submit button. So for that, what we are going to do, I will just add one container here. I will put the color as black. I will make it x-axis as 0, y-axis as 0. I will put the width as parent.width. It will take the complete app width, and similarly for parent.height. I need a little bit overlay, so what I will do, I will just reduce its opacity, and I will set its opacity to 60% only. So as you can see, it's appearing like this. Then for the container, we need border radius at 0 and drop shadow at none. The next thing I want to do, I need to add a form control inside this container. I will go to insert. I will select edit form. So as you can see, I will choose the form background as white, and I need to select the data source because from which list we need to show the form. So I will select QNA list. So as you can see, the controls are appearing automatically. We don't have to manually insert labels and text input controls for it. So I will select the column layout as single. I will click on edit fields because we don't want attachment fields, we don't want status, and we don't want response for it now. And what we need to do, we need one button here. Or let's say I will add one button that says submit question. I will put the font size as brand setting dot font dot size, which will be our 12 points. I will put the height as 40 and width and border radius will be completely round. So I will go to border radius. I will set it as a 50. I don't want any border around this button, so I will select border as none. And for the color, I will choose a primary color, which is brand setting dot color dot primary color. I think I put in the wrong place. Okay, so I will select button. I will go to its fill property, and here we need to put that. Alright, so we have set up our button here. I will select the form. I will go to edit field. Here we have the response, title, response, and department name. So what we are going to do, when I click on ask question, then only this pop-up should appear. And also I am going to have another button that says cancel, and I will choose its colors to red. Say I will reduce its weight to like this. Okay. I will click on play. So as you can see, the form is not properly center aligned on this. So to manage this vertical element and horizontal element, we have the container called vertical container and horizontal container. We have to use it for the responsive applications. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to click on this container. I'm going to cut this. I will do vertical container. I will simply put the color as black, or I can say transparent container. I will say just set its x-axis and y-axis as 0, width to be parent dot width, and height as parent dot height. I will select this container and I will just paste it inside that. I will select this container. I will rename it as CTR form, and I will rename this vertical container as VCTR forms. So you will not get confused at which container I am selecting. So just select the CTR form one, change its color to yellow. I will going to demonstrate you how this container works. Now I will select the VCTR, that is a vertical container. As you can see, there are a lot of properties here. Like if you want this center align, we can center align this, and we just need to reduce its height. So height will be automatically managing. So we are going to put the height as 500. Just select the vertical container again, and we want it to be center aligned. So let's click on it. So as you can see, it is aligned, centered. Now what we are going to do, we are going to select the vertical container again, and we are going to select the color as black, and I will set the opacity as 60. For this container, I want width to be 800, let's say. If it's too much, okay, it's okay, fine. Just select the form and select its x-axis and y-axis at 0. And its width to be parent dot width and parent dot height. So whatever the height of this container, the form will take the same height. Now as you can see, if I want to align it at top, I can align it top, bottom. Then we have this. If you want to stretch it, then we have the last one. If you want to align totally on left, you can do that. If it's center and this one is right, or this is the full width. So for now I will choose vertical and horizontal center line. Now if I play it, so as you can see, this is perfectly aligned at the center. And in the form, as you can see, there is a data showing that no item to display. That is because our form mode is set to edit. But what I want, when I click on ask a question button, the form mode should be new, right? And I will just select the new. I'll click on play. As you can see, it is appearing as new. Now the one thing we need, I will select the form. I will just reduce its heights because we are going to add one button here. I will set to parent dot height minus 200, or let's say 250. That's fine. Okay. And the container background to be white. I am going to add one button. I think we have selected the button. Yes. Those button we need to inside the form. I will just use them here. Okay, perfect. We don't need this response field. I will just remove it. We have the question title, department name, that's it. We have cancel and submit button. Okay, I will just rename these buttons btn submit question and this to be btn cancel. Now this UI part we have done, that if I click on ask question, I will add my question here, I will select my department, I will click on submit, then it should go on the SharePoint list. And when I click on cancel, the pop-up should not appear. So for that we are going to use one context variable, which is local variable. So what we are going to do, on screen visible property, I am going to create another variable. Like by default this pop-up should not appear, right? So what I am going to do, we have the update context comma, what I am going to do, loc show question pop-up, and I will set it as false, right? Because initially it should not be visible. I will copy this variable name and I will put in the visible property of the vertical container. So as you can see, the vctr is selected and it's on visible property. I'm going to put the loc question pop-up. So as you can see, by default the question pop-up is not appearing, and when we want it to appear, when I click on ask question, I think there is a spelling mistake. Okay, got it. So on click of the ask question button, what we want, we have to update context again, our variable name, and we have to set its value as true, because when I click on this button it should appear. So let's see what happens. So if I click on ask question, it is appearing. Again we need to put the same formula on the cancel button, because on cancel we want to hide it. So just change the true to false. Now it should work as expected. So when I click on ask question, the pop-up is appearing. When I click on cancel, the pop-up is not appearing, right? So this functionality we have achieved so far. Another thing we need to do, let's say if I change anything here, and if I click on cancel, if I click on ask a question again, the values are not resetting, right? So what we need to do, every time we click on ask question, we need to reset this form. So what we will do, this is our form control. I will rename this frm ask question. So let's say instead of having the formula in ask a question, so when I click on cancel, I need to reset the form, and for that we have the formula called reset form, and there we need to pass the form name only, right? So let's say I will put here this one and this one. I will click on cancel. I will click on ask a question again. So as you can see, the formula is working and the form is resetted. So let's say I will click on information technology. I'll click on cancel. I'll click on ask a question. The drop down will be reset. Then the next thing we want to do is, on click of submit question, the question should get added in the list. So what I will do, we are going to use a patch function. There are two ways to add data in list using Power Apps. The one is Submitform and another one is patch. So in patch, we have to manually write every column name and every control name there. But in Submitform, we just have one single function that says Submitform, and we have to put the form name here. So this is the simple I will click on play. I will click on I will write one question, what is 2 plus 2. I will select the department as accounting. I will click on submit. I will go to list. I will refresh it, and I will just sort this list to newer to older. So as you can see, the question is get added, and also the department name is here, and by default status is response pending. Then we have the another formula, that is patch. So while working with the large applications, it's the best practice to have the patch function instead of submit form. So submit form is a very single line. We don't have to add any extra parameters. Even though if your form has the 10 or 20 fields, if you create a submit form, then it will store the data. And the next thing is we have the patch function. So for that, we are going to use the control names, but before that we need to rename these controls. So as you can see, but before that, I'm just going to select the form. I will go to this title data card, and I need to unlock this in order to change the control name. So I will select this text box where we are going to put the question, and I will rename it as txt IP, that means input question. So I generally prefer these kind of things, text input question. So then this is our combo box. So I am going to put CMB input department name. Okay, now I will click on submit. So here I will write the keyword patch. Then as you can see, it is asking for me source, the data source to be patch. So what is our data source? That is our QNA list. Then it is asking for a record parameter. So here are the two things. If you are creating new entry in the list, doesn't matter the data source is in SharePoint list, SQL, or any Excel database, we have to use defaults and that list name or whatever the data source name is. Then we are going to use curly brackets, and inside that we are going to mention the column name. So first column name is title, and there we need to pass our txt input app question dot text, and then we have a department name. So notice that department name is a lookup column, so we need to pass it as a schema, but before that we will check if it's taking the value directly. CMB IP department and dot selected. So we'll just check if it's working or not. And there is another way to do it. If it not works, I will tell you that. I will click on play. Before that, when I add the data, I need to reset the form again, right? Okay. So I will go here, change the mode to new, click on play. Here I will select what is weather today, and this will be security department. I will click on submit. So I think the value is submitted. I will go to list, and as you can see, the question is appearing here, and the department name is security, which is appearing here, and the default status is response pending. Now I will cancel it. And one thing, if we submit the question, we also need to close the pop-up. So the same thing, I will just copy this variable formula, After it, I need to close this form. So note that the formulas we have written are going to execute one by one. So first it will execute batch function, then it will execute receipt form, and then it will execute this one. I'll just click on save. I will click on play here. I will add another question, that what is the square root of 49? This is for the finance department. I will submit a question. So first it will submit the question in the list, then it will close the pop-up and receive the form. And what we want is, we have to give a notification that your question has been submitted. So for that we have the notify function in the Power Apps. So what we will do, we'll just put notify that question submitted successfully, comma, we have the different notification type, like if this question, if the notification type we have selected as, let's say, warning, information, success, so based on, there will be a different color to that background. So I'll just select notification type at success, so it will give the green background color. If I select warning, then it will have the yellow background color. So I will tell you, I click on play, I will click on submit question. As you can see, the notification is happening, question submitted successfully with the green background. I will just close it. So note that the entries are appearing in the list, but as you can see here, it is not appearing in the gallery. That is because we need to refresh the data, and for that we are going to use the collection that we have built earlier, and again we need to refresh the data. So what we need to do, I will go to on start, or I think we put it on visible. Yes. So on visible, this formula we have written, the same formula we have to paste it here. So let's see if it's happening or not yet. I will put the question as this is test. It will go to the finance department. I will submit the question. Question submitted successfully, and as you can see, the records are appearing here. And here also we have option to sort the entries, right? So what we can do, the latest questions will appear on top. So for that we have the function called sort. So this is our show column function that is working as expected. So what I will do, I will cut this for now, and I will put sort by column function. Here I will put my data source like this one, comma, and from which you need to sort, and we need to sort it by created. So I will choose created, and I will put descending here, and there will be one round bracket closed. So same formula I need to copy. I will go to ask question and just need to replace this formula. Okay, so it will not work. Let's say I will go to another screen, then I will move back to this screen, and as you can see, the latest question are appearing on top, right? So this is the way you can use the sort function to sort the records. I will click on save. Now initially we discussed that the questions user submitted, they are not allowed to answer their own question, but as you can see, if I click on play here, So these questions I have already submitted and I'm seeing this button, but this button should not visible to me if I submitted the question, right? So we are going to manage this also. So what I will do, I will just select the button. I will go to its visible property, and here what I need to do, I have to put one condition, right? Like this item dot, if the question is created by me and the internal name of that column is author dot email is equal to logged in user email. So for to get the logged in user information, we have the user property dot email, right? So this item was author dot email is equal to email. So if this condition is true, then we don't want this button to show. So I'll put it on if this condition is true, then the button should not visible, otherwise it should be visible. So as you can see, the buttons are hiding, but it is hiding for all the others also, but we only want to hide the submit response button. So we need to put another condition that the status should not be response pending. And what I will do, and this item dot, let's say status dot value is equal to response pending, then only hide that button. So as you can see, all these questions that I have created, and I am not able to see that button because the condition says if the question is created by me and the logged in user matches the email ID, and if the status of that question is response pending, then only hide that button, otherwise it will visible. So this is how you are going to manage things dynamically. So you notice that we did not use two buttons, we manage everything dynamically. So make sure to have your application as dynamic as you want, and we are also managed to make this responsive, right? So in the next video we are going to have a look at how we are going to build the show answer functionality. Then we are going to take a look at filters, and first then we will see one Power Automate simple flow, that how we are going to notify the users. If you have any doubts till this, you can let me know in the comments. Thank you.